The Exxon Texas case, the problem there was a lack of precise insurance and risk transfer requirements. In other words, they had what they thought were insurance requirements, but they were somewhat vague. They were not really precise. And if they're not unequivocal, then there's a much more difficult time enforcing them. And one of the things we do in conjunction with bringing the insurance and risk transfer expertise together with the verification expertise of our platform is we make sure that those requirements are precise and that they actually trigger the coverage. That's what Exxon did not do. So just to go a little bit into that case, this was one of their contractors that there was a serious loss, two deaths, and it was caused by one of their contractors that they had a contract with. They thought they had transferred the risk. They thought they had verified the coverage, but the reality was the language, the requirements was imprecise, and it did not fully, at least easily, unambiguously, let's call it, transfer and activate that risk. So Exxon spent 9 years and millions of dollars to enforce that case and say, hey, even though we didn't say that, or even though they're claiming this, that it was not precise, or that they didn't really have to do it, and that we didn't use the right term, it still should be covered because Exxon spent 9 years and millions of dollars. And the reason why, this was a $24 million case with this Exxon case. So the first layer of policies paid, and I forget the exact amount, but it was something like 3 or 3.5 million. They just paid that, forgot it, because they knew how big it was. But when we got to the excess policies, and that's where oftentimes there's problems, is these excess policies for the higher limits, which we're seeing more and more of. Those excess policies are not as standardized as the primary policies. And therefore, if the language is not specific, and if it's not verified, then you run into that type of problem. And that's one of the things where I think our system really shines, is because it uses the precise insurance language that will actually trigger coverage. And Exxon could have saved themselves millions of dollars and 9 years if they simply had had the correct wording in their risk transfer requirements. And one other comment I want to make about that, and I want to say this because it's important for all businesses to note this. Usually we think of a little small business that doesn't know what they're doing something like that. We're talking Exxon. Okay. When I read the language in their insurance requirements, I am stunned at how ambiguous and imprecise it was. And I can see exactly why there was a huge issue. And with just very simple reworking of that, they would not have had that problem whatsoever. So that's basically the whole issue with that. And it's taught, here's the thing we can take away from that Exxon case. The Exxon case has taught us the importance of using precise, what I call triggering language, that clearly specifies what's required and then contains the requirement in order to activate the coverage. Because so many coverages nowadays have a requirement that in order for it to be activated, this is especially true in third parties, in order for the coverage to be activated, it must be a clear written requirement in the risk transfer contract of the insurance requirements between the parties. And that's where, once again, our system really excels, by noting those and bringing them to the attention if there's any problem with those issues.